Welcome to Lit Up 365 Autumn Session 6. This is where we start to close out our harvest season and prepare to go within. And the question we begin with here is, do you feel satiated? Right? We've just come out of this harvest, out of this realizing. So our abundance isn't always just getting what we want. Sometimes it comes in clarity and realizing what we've accomplished throughout the year. And so when we're asking that question, do you feel satiated? What we're really asking is, what did you learn about yourself this year? Or do you feel satisfied with what you have grown? Was your harvest enough? Has it fed you? And if not, what's missing? Because what's missing might be fundamental to what you are about to do next. It's not about focusing on the fact that it's missing. It's about going, oh, this is what I didn't get last year. So now I have my focus for the coming year, right? Out of the fruit that was produced last year is the seed for next year. And that seed is, what more can I do? What more is available? Because we don't want to make it about regret. Our fruit is already dropped. We've already let it go. And it's really not ours anymore. And so we must trust nature to take care of it. And winter is really about that faith. It's also about the unknown. So it's about the potential of that seed. It's about asking, what would you do? Who would you be if you had no bounds, right? I realize that the most joyous aspects of my own life are those things that I didn't see coming or really even know were possible. I didn't even know they existed. So this is our time right now, as we do the last session before winter, to pause for a moment and review where we are. And to do that, I want to talk again about fantasies, dreams, and visions. We've talked about this before, but I want to do a quick review and apply it to how we're going to move into dream time, right? That's what winter is, but we want to be in vision and not in fantasy or dreams. So again, fantasy is instant gratification. It's really where we're pretending that we're somewhere we're not. We're thinking about the thing we want to happen. We know it's not real, so it's not fully satiating. We never feel truly fed, because it's putting our good away from us. We're just focusing on what might happen or what we want to happen rather than where we are, and it makes where we are feel not as good. And that placating experience can come in a lot of form. So I have an example from this week, and this came in the fact that I had been sick, and part of my sickness was a depleted blood oxygen level, and it was so fatiguing. But I kind of watched, and I would watch as my oxygen level would adjust. Sometimes it'd drop really low, and other times it'd start to climb again, and I started to say, okay, what is it doing when? And it kind of culminated in feeling very sick over the weekend. Like I woke up with nausea and like headache, and just I felt horrible again. And it's been going on for a few weeks. And so I realized that, I could pause and say, okay, I'm not a person who gets sick. So what's happening? Okay, I've been doing too much. I've been pushing too hard. And so I've depleted myself, and all of these things that could be, again, these excuses to not continue to move forward. And I had a day planned with someone that was about completing a big project. And it was interesting because I knew I was ill. I was horribly ill. And a part of my brain kept saying, I just need to lay down and rest. I just need to say, okay, we can't do this today. Lay down and rest. But I really wanted to complete this project. And so I went, and we were driving in a canyon, and the motion, I haven't been that sick since I was pregnant. And I I just don't even know how I managed it. It was probably the worst hour of my life while we were in the car. But there was a point where we were going, we couldn't access. They had closed the road. So we had to re-decide and go back through a windy canyon. It was like torture. But there was a moment where the person I was with asked me, "Do you want to just go home? Or do you want to go forward? What do you want to do?" And I remember, and I thought, well, first of all, going home is 15 minutes of a winding canyon. Going forward is 3 to 5 minutes. And I can get out, go for a hike, go for this walk, and maybe that will alleviate the nausea, because driving back down the canyon was going to make it worse. But really what it was my decision not to let the illness dictate my success. And I realized I could go to bed and I could nurture myself. And a lot of times we talk about this as self-care. I could do that and I would be justified in doing so. However, one of the things I learned when I was observing blood oxygen is the fact that my blood oxygen levels increased when I exercised. So even though it felt like getting up and walking across the room had fatigued me so much, I didn't know that I could exercise. A couple hours later, my blood oxygen would be higher if I did physical activity. So I started to increase my exercise routine, and it really did pull me out. And I thought, this is really interesting, because sitting in a hospital bed on a respirator, which I was at the point where I was deciding, do I go to the hospital? My blood oxygen was so low. I was trying to decide, should I go or not? And I realized, wow, like being there and being laying down is not going to be what's best for me. Drinking a lot of water and getting my body moving is going to increase my blood oxygen. And regardless of what's happening in my lungs or my heart, because I have a heart condition that can also deplete my blood oxygen levels. So the thing is I decided to go forward, and I went for the hike, and we just did it at a nice, easy pace, and I felt better as we went. And I had a couple moments where I was a little bit nauseous, but actually the drive down the canyon, I wasn't. And what I knew was this, and this is what I want to get to by this story, is the fact that I knew that if I accomplished my original intent for the day, that I would have a better day tomorrow. And I talk about this a lot with the brain, that if we trigger the dopamine today, if we're stimulating the being in a state of dopamine, then we are going to benefit from that tomorrow. So the satiation is just that serotonin, right? Where I'm like, okay, I'm self-nurturing. I'm not in fight or flight. I'm not suffering. And on that drive, I did a lot of suffering. There were a lot of fight or flight moments. I really at points didn't know if I could make it. I was so nauseous. But I knew that the next day, and that I would recover faster, because I always knew there was a point in recovery whenever I was sick where I'd go, I'm done being sick, and within a few hours I was feeling better. And I didn't know whether the thought came because the illness had reached a level where I could do that, or if the thought was me stimulating the chemicals to help me recover from the illness. And I started to realize I'm not waiting for that moment anymore. I'm going to refuse to be ill. And so it really was the fact that I'm still recovering, but now I have this energy level and I know I can accomplish what I want, and I can take it easy on myself, but I can, as what I'm doing right now, just placating me, just making me feel better? Or is it inspiring me that as I move forward and wake up tomorrow, I will feel that I've propelled myself? So am I just getting by, or am I propelling myself forward? And that's what we're really going to look at this season as we move into winter. We want our winter not to be hunkering down, laying in bed, withdrawing from the world, self-nurturing time. We want it to be a deepening. We want it to be an advance through the way winter advances us. So a lot of times what we call self-care and self-nurturing is us fighting for our limitations. It's us saying, okay, I'm gonna do what feels good in the moment and not what's best for me in the long run. So that's what kind of that state that's fantasy, that's placating, that's this thing that's temporary, instant gratification, rather than true satiation, where we feel satiated. Again, we've talked about the dream portion as using information created from our current comprehension of reality, right? So again, our brain uses dreams as a survival mechanism to access historical, experiential, and environmental information to solve our problems. But we don't want a brain that thinks of life as a problem to be solved, because again, we're never satiated because we're never done. It just goes on and on. So we understand that about kind of the right way dreams are working, but we can also get caught in this in our awake time where we're just problem solving. I'm going to fix myself. I'm going to fix the world. I'm going to fix the people in my life. Everything's going to be fixed. If we can stop thinking of it as broken, and if we can think of ourselves of, well, this is where I am right now, based off of the experiences I've had and the hand I was dealt, and it's just where I am. When we can get to that place, we're empowered, rather than constantly feeling like something needs to be fixed, and it becomes that onion that we forever peel. What we want to be is in vision, which is the thriving expansion of the species, where we're accessing information outside of our current comprehension of reality, right? This is the season of vision. It is when we are most open to inspired thought. The distractions of the other seasons are past, right? We're entering into this quiet time where we can hear, where we can actually listen at a level that we might not have listened before. So it's not time quite yet to go into winter, but we must prepare. Winter is a season that everything in nature prepares for. Trees draw their chlorophyll into the roots, right? The leaves fall in autumn because the tree is preparing for winter. Animals are gathering, they're preparing, they're finding the place where they're going to be in that time of non-activity, where it's not activity, but it's internal rejuvenation, everything that's restorative for us. So this has been a difficult year for many of us, but I realize it's kind of been less for me than for a lot of people. I experienced a loss of income. I experienced a significant loss of income, and it's interesting because my goal has been for some time to be financially free, to be free of debt, for never have loans again, and just be in this space where I live according to the amount of income I have, not off potential future income. And so that was my goal. And then all of a sudden with COVID, that was crushing. That was crushing to me financially, because I did get most of my contributions came from people physically sitting in a room with me. And when it switched to online services, the contribution stopped, like completely stopped. And so my original goal, my original idea of what I wanted, what I fantasized about, what my plan was that I would make more money to pay off that debt. But things kept happening, things like COVID that stood in the way of that. And so trying to manage what happened was not the solution, right? Again, we're only given as much power as we don't give away. So trying to make the world give me enough money to pay off debts and not have any more loans is me trying to be what I'm not yet, right? We want to strive to be more, but we also must admit where we are, and it seems contradictory. So we could say, don't be who you're not yet, but yet be in this phase 3 practice of leaning into your new self. And it's not a contradiction when we're honest about it. So when we have this idea that vision is what's available, now. It's what's there that we're not seeing, but it's not what we're experiencing yet. I might see this vision of myself as financially free, but I'm not that yet. So how do I live in that? That's the real question. How do I live into being that financially free person if I'm not it yet? And in that, the question really becomes is, what am I doing today? What's mine to do today? And is it living in service to who I want to be? So I'm not going to fantasize or even dream. I'm not going to think about, oh, I'm going to say affirmations that I'm financially free, or I'm going to wish it, or I'm going to try and make it happen. In this moment, I'm saying, okay, is what I'm doing right now living in service to that? And what I realized is that I was trying to struggle against what COVID was doing and trying to still sustain income, sustain contributions for what I give. And it wasn't happening. So I found a job where I could continue to build my dream, but have enough income to sustain myself. I also moved. I also found a place that was significantly less in rent. So these things became available in moments. The wisdom of realizing, okay, this is available, because if I want to become financially free, I have to take that step. So it's that question, is what I'm doing right now living in service to that person I want to be? And if it's not, I need to change my behavior. I need to focus my attention on the new. And then the old will naturally fall away. I don't have to worry about the person with debt and being that person. That's who I am right now. I can't deny that. That's a reality. But I want to live in service to being a person who isn't in debt. Then I must put my focus on doing the things today that create that scenario. And we're going to do that. We're going to do that because our work is in the focus. To focus on that seed of new potential and do things that are really going to make a difference. So as we do this, we must remember that right now we're moving into this time where it's really more about the inspiration and learning how to follow that inspiration. So I want to give you a little parallel between seasons and days. So again, spring, as we talk about spring, that's the new day, the new dawn, the new life. It's nature coming to life, right? And then we have summer, which is the time of work. It's midday. It's the middle of the day where everything's bright and sunny and clear. We know what our work is. We know what's to do. It's sitting right in front of us. Everything is obvious. And we do the hard work. That's what I always talk about with Lit Up. I'll only ask you to work really hard 3 months out of the year. And that's the midday. That's when we go to work. That's when we do our labor. That's when we labor in the field, is during the middle of the day. And then in the evening time is fall. It's when we let go of the day. We let go of the work. We say, this is what I've accomplished today. This is when we recognize what we've built. And then we go into the night where we don't see what's in the physical world. Think of it as a dark room, right? You don't see what's in the physical world. So you really have to be aware of your own inner thoughts. This is, a lot of people suffer insomnia because they can keep themselves busy all day, but then at bedtime, all of a sudden, they have their thoughts to face. Things aren't as clear. But that empty space that is winter, that is the middle of the night, is so valuable. We all want to be full all the time. But as we move into winter, it's time to be empty, to completely empty our vessel. And when we think we're done, empty it a little more, right? The tree is completely barren. It doesn't reserve some leaves. It drops all of them. But it's not dead. It's empty, which is what we're doing. We're letting go of our opinions. We're letting go of our thoughts, our feelings, even our own identity. Winter is about this withdrawal it's not about a withdrawal. It's about recovery. It's about stepping into an infinite possibility. Anything is possible here. It's kind of like dreams. Anything is possible in those, right? Anything. That coat rack in the corner could be anything, because our eyes aren't seeing what is. They're seeing what we create of what is. So here we are, like the trees, drawing the nutrients to the root, but We're doing it so the roots can dig deeper. Think about this deepening time not as you don't need to recover from your life. Life is happening the way it's happening. The roots are about digging in deeper, becoming a stronger tree. Every year, nature gets stronger. The bushes grow. The plants establish. The fruit a plant bears based on its age is vital, right? A lot of people know this that grow like prize-winning produce, is that the longer the plant exists, the stronger it is, the better it is, because it's those roots are digging deep. So that's what we're doing. We're moving into the end, that digging deep place. And one of the things I like to use in this is thinking of the serenity prayer, right? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I can't change how it's happening. I can't change what's in front of me right now or how the world is going to happen, right? The courage to change the things I can is the second part, which is I can change me, not fixing me, but knowing me and saying, is what I'm doing right now living in service to what I want to become? And the wisdom to know the difference. This is that inner wisdom, right? Intuition is my voice at its most evolved, according to what I can conceive today. So we want to think of this time not as a retreat from, but like a retreat, like going to a retreat. It's a time to focus on self. It's a time to take a break from focusing on out there and the work and the world and listen to ourselves. Because when we get clear, everything else is apparent. Everything that we're not is obvious, so that we can abandon who we were to become who we might be. And as we do that, we're going to do some practices this week that are coming back to the moment, back to the self. Again, we don't want to get caught in that trap of self-evaluation and personal growth. There's always another layer to that. We're just going to keep returning to that question. Is what I'm doing now living in service to who I want to be? We're coming back to the moment by letting go of tomorrow. So we're going to do a brain mapping practice to help us with focus and ask that question. Is what I'm doing now living in service to who I want to be? Saying, what am I doing today? Being present in body, being physically here. Okay, this is the reality of where I am. Mind, where is my focus? I'm going to be in that mindfulness, that focus. And spirit, being honest with ourselves. It's really important right now to be present in spirit, which means being honest with ourselves, seeing ourselves for who we are, taking off the masks and no longer pretending to be what that primal social survival mechanism says. I don't need to pretend to fit in or be like anyone else. I'm going to just be me. And then we can easily predict what will happen by using a provable method. But we must apply the method, which is what we will do in the practices this week. So I just want to say thank you for being part of Lit Up, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session.